Welcome to this technical seminar on Femap version 11.4, tips and tricks and 10 best things. So this is a recording. We lost the live one during the presentation, so I got to re-record this, and I'm doing it along with Brian Kolb. He's our new staff engineer. He'll be talking to draw, erase. So this will be published along with the PDF and any models that we have that are not proprietary. So I'm going to go a little faster than the real seminar would, because you guys will have the PDF and you can read. So here is stuff on buying software, our training coming up, software licenses through Eric Barber. Outline, where we're going, what we say, congratulations for taking time out of your schedule to learn, to sharpen up your skill sets. And our objective today is, what we're doing is we're sharing our most important and useful Femap capabilities, not our Femap capabilities, but what we see in Femap as being useful. And although we could talk about 11.4 and what's been changed, it really is an engineer's release. That what they've done is spent the last 6 months just tuning up the program. So we decided that it's been a while since we've done this, is talk about our workflow and the top things that we love about Femap and how we use them in our daily work process. And we start with preferences. When we get a new release, we go in and adjust certain things. And one is, of course, undo. We set it to 20 levels. We set the temp to scratch, where Femap stores are undo. We'll also go in, and this is your little homework. If you go into the resolution button here, you're going to see where you can change the copy paste. Well, the copy from the screen resolution, you can make it like 4x, and then you can paste it into your Microsoft Word document. Really useful on that aspect. We also will talk about views. And right here, when we do a new view, it will bring up the stored view of one. And we'll talk about how we use those. And then on this screen, we'll set pick to front. And you can see that right there for better picking. And we also do the mouse interface. We'll do a dynamic zoom and dynamic rotate on those. And we turn these things off, because especially ask for confirmation on delete, because you have undo. So you don't need that. And let's talk about the basics. So although as many people use Femap on a daily basis, I know how it is. It's your workflow can get so hectic that you don't have a chance to really focus on productivity enhancements. And for us, the big ones are manifold and non-manifold for skins. And I need to bring up the model and show. I want to give a distinct hard example. Now, I set the preferences here to 0. And let me go back in and go to user interface. You see how that's set up. Database, views, I need to set that to 1. And here's where I talk about resolution, where the screen copy save resolution, screen scaled by 4 on that. So now, if I do that, go to File New, it brings up our view settings. And I'll talk about that later on. So let's bring in the first one, the basic, most simple, manifold. 2 pieces of geometry. We'll go in, mid-surface, automatic. And it wants a distance here a bit bigger than the thickness. And this is what you expect to see. All these surfaces lined up here, individual skins. And that really is, that's really old school. What you really want is a stitch up solid. And to do that, you go into solid, stitch. That's sort of slow. Let me undo, back to there. And let's do it the more modern way. I'll go into mid-surface, automatic, like that, to the 1, and do combined mid-surface. Then you're going to see it compresses it down to just these 2 surfaces like that. And this is, you can hide surfaces like this. Look at that. And then you can't see what's going on. You can see the outline, which is handy, and then you see the mid-surface underneath. Now, let me also show something else on this. Let me show the non-manifold. Because those were, now what I've done is I've extended the surfaces down so they intersect here. But there's still 2 distinct skins, like that. So now let's go into geometry, surface, non-manifold. Well, Brian, if I might catching the highlights from the seminar
Yeah, so far.
so far. And now this is your feedback. So they're non-manifold. It tells you that stitch this up with one line, and these are the free surface edges. So that's a successful non-manifold add, and you only have one line going through there. And you can see you have a little overlap here that you might want to clean up. But that is, in essence, is the difference in manifold, non-manifold. Now, more advanced, because that's the basics, is this is another technical seminar that we've done, and it gets much deeper into taking care of a solid, turning it into a mid-surface, and it deals with reality. Is that a lot of times it's not clean, and you have to go in and move surfaces around and set things up. And some features in Femap also allow you to use the parent geometry, the thickness of the parent geometry, to apply that to the mesh, to the attached mesh. So I'll go in, I'll show what we're calling the advanced version. Oh, I know, I forgot. It's actually, we bring it in via geometry. Like that. And you can see it's a variable thickness, mid-surface, automatic, select all. I know this is 0.1, make sure combine mid-surfaces. And it goes through and it sets it up, and I want to set this up to hide surfaces. And this is normal. This is what you'd expect to see, is that you got some gaps and overlapped and extra surfaces and stuff going on. And you notice how I can hold my cursor down. It zooms around that. That's one of the settings and references, zoom around cursor. Now what's this? I'm going to go into meshing, geometry, edit, project curve, imprint, extend, clean, which does some nice stuff you can read about. There's our surface. There's our curve to imprint. And now we can get rid of those surfaces that we don't want. And I can hit the highlight. Yep, that's, not what I want. I want to get rid of this one right there. That, good. Now, this is normal. You got gaps, and to clean it up used to be, you pretty much didn't have much of a choice, but what's this? Is it now, you can go in, and this is not a new feature. This has been in since 11.3.2. And it's just one of those things that's more robust, more effective, like that. And then you can go back in, bring up the final part. I like to show it. I got the Jacobium contoured. I'll go up there and turn that off. What I want to show on this is the thickness of the plates have been mapped over to match up. And I'll go into geometry and I'll show that. You see how now it follows the geometry. This is really, it's quite effective. It's a nice setup. Okay, on the next, full screen, moving on. Meshing toolbox. It's another thing that we use every day. And it's quite, it's quite invaluable in the pursuit of the perfect quad. And let me show an example on it. Go through here, models, meshing toolbox. This is the starting point. I'll go into mesh, geometry, surface, set this up like this, and we're all set. Just a second here. And so that brings that up, and you can see coming out of the gate, it creates a nice mesh, but we can make it better. We can go ahead and put in washers around it right there. And we just walk around, it updates the mesh for us, and you pick one around the curve. It does everything like that. And if we want to break stuff, you can point to edge like that. And this is what we really, this is lots of years. We go break, and I'm going to break it. Watch what I'm doing here. I'm going to break at the midpoint. It's not broken yet. It just sets the break point. And then we pick that. Then I can go point to edge. And once I've done one side, I can project that curve over to the other side, like that. And then into mesh sizing, increase, and then I can make something that looks a little prettier, like that. And the next example, it's the same. It's not exactly meshing, but this is a new feature in 11.4. So what's this? I'm going to update the mesh that's attached to here. And it knows there's an RBE attached to it. So it actually will update the RBE along with it. This is new 11.4. And what I'd like to show on this is that I'm using a welded connection on it. And that is under here. Well, they call it glued, but sort of old school, I call it welded. Come here, edit. There we go. Glued and offset search distance, and it runs. And we can go, I didn't say, well, you got to rerun it. And I'm using a geometric constraint here on this one, 49,000. But that's not too surprising because you got one element through there, and that is not that good. So let me undo. I'll just take it back out to where we were, and we'll go back into the meshing toolbox, geometry editing, point to edge, like that. And then we can go into the meshing, and there's a lot of controls. I'm just touching the top of the iceberg and about what you can do with all these tools. I mean, we have other, as you can guess, other seminars that talk specifically just on the meshing toolbox. And there we go. And I double click to reload everything. Now it's at 54. And one of the things I like on this thing here, the selector entity, is, hold on, I'll close that out. Selector entity, the element. I talk about this another one. I have entity info turned on, and I can look at stresses. And if I bring this, double click on that, and it gives at the center, at the top is a stress at the centroid of the element, and then at the next stresses, those are the average stresses at the nodes. And you get an idea of the amount of work that each isoperimetric element has to do to go from the centroid out to the node. And even seeing this jump, it's more than 10%, I would probably refine the mesh again to lower that. Guess what, Brian? You do have to do something. You get to do your draw erase again. And I introduced this Control Q if you've never seen it before. It's when we onboard a new Femap client, we'll do a seminar somewhat like this, but more tailored to what they need. But we emphasize the Control Q to move things around. So now I get to pass the puck over to you. Audience view, screen, webcam. Now, as long as I've done this, I still find it screen, webcam. Now, do you have something on your side?
Let me see if I hit share. Can you hear me?
No. That's good. You're on.
Oh, okay. All right.
Bring it back. You're there.
Perfect. Can you see everything?
Yeah.
All right. I'm going to talk real briefly about the draw erase toolbar. It's a handy little tool that you can use to select entities of your geometry. So basically how this guy works is you have these buttons here. The first one turns the toolbar on and off, as you can see. One of the handy features of that is when it's turned off, it'll still save all of your selected entities. It'll remember everything, so that's kind of handy. Your two main choices here are your draw erase draw mode and your draw erase erase mode. The draw mode is going to show your part, and the erase mode is going to hide it. And I'll do a few examples that'll make a little more sense with that. And for selecting entities, we have the select geometry, select mesh, and select area. For select geometry, you have your select solids, select surfaces, select curves, select points. And if you just want the geometry underneath and not the actual mesh, you can unselect this auto select mesh and it'll do that. Otherwise, if it's selected, it'll grab everything. And then for select mesh, you have select elements, select properties, select materials, and also select regions and connectors if you have those. And then finally, for the select area, it gives you a few different options to kind of to grab the information that you need a little easier. But again, you can erase all selected, erase geometry only, or erase mesh only, and you can create and load groups. So let's start out with just going to geometry here and clicking on select solids. So let's say that you know, we want to look at this part right here. So you can click select that, and it brings it up because right now we are in draw mode, so it shows only this part. If you click on erase mode, it will hide it so you can look at the stuff underneath. Pretty handy. And again, you can turn it off and everything comes back, turn it back on, it's right where you left it. You can also clear when you're done if you want to get another selection. So over here for select mesh, you can select elements, which is a real handy tool. You can come in here and grab individual elements, or you can use the pick button here to grab different things, or the method also, as it, you know, grab curves or surface, if you will. So if you hit OK with that, it'll bring up, since we have show or draw mode, it'll bring up the ones that you selected, and then again, you can hide them. One of the real handy feature here is in this draw array selected area, you can come down to the grow and shrink buttons, and what that'll do is it'll actually slowly grow out the mesh starting with what you've selected. And this is a really handy feature because it allows you to review your elements, kind of diagnose issues, see which elements are connected by what, and kind of explore your model using the grow and shrink. And again, shrink will make it smaller. And then clear selection. You can also grab items by properties or materials. I'll show you here. If I go select properties, if I want everything with this property, I just click on this guy right here, click OK, it highlights everything for me or hides it. So that's pretty handy. Material works very similar to that. So if you want to look at individual materials selections, you can just grab one and it'll pull it all up, which is real handy. So yeah, as far as that goes, it's a pretty straightforward tool. It's really, really handy. It'll save you a lot of time. One of the nice things, actually,
I know it's a single element stuff.
Yeah. Well, also it doesn't unselect any of your geometry.
Yeah.
Off the toolbar, which is nice. So you can still work around with it. It's just really handy.
Hey, when you pick on a solid, make sure you mention that what's unique is when you pick via solid, it includes the auto select mesh.
Exactly. That's what I was talking earlier. So
good. I was a little spaced out, but when I first saw the auto select mesh, I went, "Wow, that's what
super handy." Super handy, and and this grow and shrink button is probably my favorite.
They had it as an API for a long time, the grow shrink, but it meant you had to have a group. You'd have to create a group and grow and shrink, and oh geez, it was a bit. I mean, this is so much faster, but I have to learn how to use it.
Yeah, it's super handy. I've been enjoying it for sure. So yeah, I just recommend playing around with it and get a feel for it.
I know you get to start fresh and without prior bad workflow habits.
Right. Exactly.
But I mean, this is what happens. I mean, I do it all the time. I get so stuck in my own workflow.
Right.
And it's, click, and someone shows me a new way that would save me, like 50%, instead of 10, I could do it in 5.
Right.
I'll fight using it. No, I must do it my old way. Oh,
yep.
So
they're hard to break.
I should have mentioned it's like, I enjoy doing these seminars because it forces me. It's like, now I'm going to have to use the draw erase.
Right.
And just think, Brian, you never had to learn how to do the old way of geometry and surfacing, and I know this is one of my comments about hiring new engineers. It's like, they say, oh yeah, we got tons of experience, and it's just grown. It's like, oh yeah, okay. Depends on what sort of experience you have.
Exactly.
Can you validate a model? Okay. Pass the puck and I can finish this thing.
All right. I think all you got to do is hit. I'll hit stop sharing screen and.
No, don't hit stop sharing screen. Oh yeah.
You just have to hit your side. Yeah, no. I'll hit stop sharing screen. You grab it up and you should be good to go.
There, I think I'm there.
Yeah, there you go. Perfect.
I hope I'm there.
Thank you very much. Yep, I see you.
Look at that. I got audience view. I feel enabled. Ooh, the second time around. This continues on. This is more selector entity viewing and how we interrogate a model. And you can think of it as verification in a bit. Is how do you know you have the right number? It's tricky. Selector entity, and I love this model. We've had this for years. It's so complex. And the cutting plane is turned on, so I'll go into here. I'll go back there, cutting plane off. And I still have there's some properties that aren't turned on. So go into there, show all like that. And we use a lot for the selector. Now I got to use the draw erase. Is that, you go in and you pick it, visibility, hide selected. And you can do it for all sorts of, you can base on material element. But this is what I'm really preferring on workflow, is that it's really nice to say, okay, I only want to look at show only beams. Likewise, only plates or only rigid. So things like this is knowing how to run through and use all these selectors and icons, very handy. And the next model, stress visualization. It's another thing we use the selector. And when I mentioned this is my push for like hex, what is hexable, and tet, the rest. And the reason why is that an 8-node brick is numerically very efficient. It's quasi-parabolic, isoparametric. And to get the same behavior, you use a 10-node tet. To fill one cube, let's turn that element on. To fill one cube, you have to use 5 tets, which has 26 nodes, where an 8-node is just 8 nodes. So the efficiency is more than 3x. And you see down in the corner, you get the stresses. And what I use this model for is talk about a little bit of control Q node, is if we look at this old element here, you see the centroid stress in the corner, the 4 corner nodes. And you see a huge jump from the centroid out to the average nodes. And that means the mesh still needs to be converged. And so this is where we can go in. We use this for our class. I'll delete these, go into meshing, mesh sizing, and you can put 10 on it. You just get crazy. Just whack it up like that. And we got one element across, and then I can make this 2. And Brian, you're going, wait, this is different than what he did in the other seminar. It is, but that's okay.
Yeah.
I'll make that another 5. I'm exploring the unknown. And what you aim for is that you want 1 by 1 by 1 for a tet, if possible. I mean, that's the golden rule of thumb for tet meshing. So there, I made it. I tried to make it as close as I could, but there's a point where you just give up. It doesn't really matter. If we run this, you can look at the stress. Of course, the stresses will be a bit higher, but you always wonder how much higher. And there, go back into post-processing, double-click, brings that up. Wow, a whopping 10% more. And it just shows you, TETs give good results, even when they're coarse. And if you go back into element, you can see that right there, look how much tighter it is between the centroid and the nodes. 155 in the lower left-hand corner to 163. And we like to round up. We round to three digits because that's the accuracy, more or less, of the FEA method, 1%. And view, full screen, back to here. Free body diagram. Of course, we have a seminar on that. And I have a model, and I show the section cut through the model, and it all makes sense. And logical stuff, it's just what we use. This is the fluff part. It may not affect the quality of your results, but it can affect the perceived quality of the results. What do you think of that statement, Brian? Perceived. Nice. It doesn't. I know. Does it look clean? Does it look slick?
It's important.
Do I dare say professional? What an overabused term. You know, it's just like cringe when I hear professional. But this is the default view that comes in. And if this is what one of the things why we like it is I'll hold the control Q down. And you can save views and load view. Views are these tabs, these windows here. You know, these are your views. And I put old school because I just wanted a different name. And you can save them, of course. And they're a database of all the things and view options and settings. And you can see here's our viewing. I'll put that and bring it up like that. Voila. Now that's our original. Now if I go to Control Q, let's load the post-processing view. Pretty slick, huh? You're grunting. You're probably saying, I could have saved so many hours of picking and screwing, and you know, it's so classic. And undo. I didn't want to come back. Oh well. I got so many windows here. It's crazy. I just bring that up like that. And one of the things I'll hit F6 is tools and view style shading. Interesting. I didn't set this up to be reflective. We're going to have to talk to Adrian. You see how you get the reflective view? That's a screen spot.
Oh, interesting.
It does it for everything. You know, yeah, and it's you know, it's like every other FVA program has it reflective viewing, but not Femap's default to viewer. Screen spot, and there's model spot too, but the spot is like that. I know, funny, isn't it?
Right.
Oh, well. The flash, the graphic presentation, and the help, and it's sort of self-explanatory. The reason I bring it up because the Femap development team has really done a great job with their help. They've spent so much time working on it. And you got the NX Nastran, everything there. And the API there's some examples. All the custom tools are APIs which you can match. And we have saved hundreds of thousands of dollars for our clients in building APIs. They're really valuable. And they're Visual Basic, so that means you can put them into Excel. And we have an example here. This is an example of API. If you've done pressure work, this is a hydraulic manifold, and you got to apply pressure all on the inside, all those surfaces. And it could be painful if you have to do it by hand. But fortunately, there's an API. And watch this. This is my little custom setup. All interior surfaces. So it says, select the surfaces where it terminates. And I'll hit the button there. That looks right. There's nothing on that end. And then it wants a surface from the inside. Watch what this does. It makes a group of all the surfaces you need for your pressure loads without having to pick all the way around. And so this is written up by part of the Femap development group, and now we have it in our toolbox. And undo. We had to give it double billing because it's such a useful item. We use it all the time. And other programs, it's one of those things. Femap was built up from the ground with Windows. And so it had undo built in. And the other major analysis, pre and post, were built. They came from Linux and then ported over. So the coding structure is completely different. And that's one thing to remember when you're using Windows. Using Femap is that it's Windows-based. That's it.
Yeah.
And a word from our sponsor. Thank you. Come visit us in beautiful Portland, Oregon. You can tell, second time around, I'm losing it. I better get out of here. And if you're watching this, thank you for your patience. And if you have any questions, send us an email. Give us a call. We'd welcome to have some interaction. Thank you very much. Any comment, Brian? Any questions?
No, I don't think so. No, I'm pretty good. Second time around was nice.
Now I gotta stop recording. Thank you very much. Bye.